question, what does this have to do with this? I mean, nothing, to be honest, but what they have in common is a dogged commitment to a visual style that serves the themes of the story or the vibe or the creative vision, even though it could put a lot of people off. Kane and Lynch 2 Dog Days goes to great pains to look like disgusting handycam footage in a move which frankly elevates the game from what would otherwise be an unremarkable third-person cover shooter in an era that had quite a lot of those. Pentiment goes to great pains to look like a 16th century illustration, which is a remarkable achievement, in part because they've nailed it, but also because 16th century illustrations were never meant to be rigged for animation. They were never meant to walk around the scene or react expressively in real time to the things going on around them. So the fact that Pentiment's beautiful, historically inspired visual style works, and works even better in motion, is a testament to the sheer talent of its art department, which, by the way, is very small. A total of 13 people worked on this game. The scale of their triumph in getting this made, looking and sounding as beautiful as it does, can't be overstated. In terms of its budget, its scope, the manpower available to it, it's closer to what we would think of as an indie game than a first-party RPG from one of the big three platform holders, but that's what it is. Obsidian made this as a passion project in between the vast and hyper-detailed open-world role-playing games that they're known for. Just look at their upcoming slate. They're doing Outer Worlds 2, which is Fallout in space, Avowed, which is Skyrim with a plot. They just released Grounded, which is Honey, I Shrunk the Kids with an arachnophobia slider. It's clear that Pentiment is a labour of love, taken on by a small team who really wanted to tell this story and express their active obsession with Central European history, the Protestant Reformation, the Renaissance, the Holy Roman Empire, which is not to be confused with the Roman Empire, which also looms large over this story, quite literally in the form of a ruined aqueduct that towers over the landscape. History is really confusing and convoluted and fundamentally unknowable. There are brilliant academics who've spent their entire lives studying a single monarch, or the destruction of Pompeii, or one specific Mesopotamian board game, and they will tell you from the off that they don't know everything about their specialist subject. So for the rest of us, making sense of the past is difficult to say the least. It's fragmented and brittle. It's like trying to rebuild a Ford Fiesta from skid marks. Not those kind of skid marks, but what video games can give us is an impression of the past that is irresistible. Just look at the Assassin's Creed series. For a lot of people, the entire appeal of those games is just walking around ancient Egypt or Venice during the Renaissance or whatever it is, and for the record, I adore Assassin's Creed, but it is an ultra-budget flagship game which has the blockbuster resources to recreate entire cities, entire countries from centuries past in extraordinary detail. Pentiment just doesn't have the wow factor of an Assassin's Creed or a Ghost of Tsushima or a Plague Tale Requiem, and it's not an action game. You don't stab anyone in it. It's an entirely conversation-driven RPG with speech checks in place of hit points, and it's fundamentally about art, how art gives us a window into the souls of people long past. It's cerebral stuff. It's destined to have a very niche audience, and let's face it, it is a bit goofy looking at first glance, which is why it's brilliant that it has a platform on Game Pass, and this is the exact kind of proposition that Game Pass was made for. Games that look interesting, but perhaps are too weird to risk spending proper money on. For first-party studios, Game Pass spreads the wealth and makes it easier to make a business case for a 2D RPG with no combat or voice acting that's about folklore and Bavarian peasants struggling to survive against the backdrop of religious and political turmoil. For punters like us, it makes the decision to try it out a bit of a no-brainer. It's an enabler of profound creativity and an engine of discoverability that creates perfect conditions for niche games like Pentiment to exist and find their audience. And that's why Pentiment shows the true value of Game Pass. Also, the 15 quid they're asking for it on storefronts is frankly a steal, so you should get it regardless of whether you've got Game Pass or not. And I've written an extensive review on VG247, which you can check out, linked in the description. I'm telling you, it's brilliant. And you know what? It's only about 15 or 20 hours long, so even if you're an old bastard like me with a mortgage and kids, you'll be able to finish it in like a weekend. It's beautiful. It's so beautiful. Like and subscribe and all that, I mean, if you want, I'm not your mum. And check out the weekly VG247 Best Games Ever podcast if you quite like listening to people mugging off their boss. I should probably stop doing that, actually.